I have been worrying about getting carjacked for so long because all we've heard about in this city is carjackings left and right.
Now, you'll hear from blue checks on Twitter and just randos on Facebook because Facebook has been just hijacked. Facebook is part of the Sun Belt. You'll hear from these people that this woman possesses something called glide privilege. She's privileged. You'll hear this every time something happens. We just had the case with Zach Stacy, the NFL player, ex-NFL player who, let's just say he did what many of us do. Sometimes we're watching a game, teams losing, we throw something at the TV. Well, he threw his girlfriend at the TV, his baby mother at the TV, amongst other things. And all I've read on Twitter was, he going under the jail now. He messed with a glacier glider woman. He's done. Even though some people have had favorable outcomes in all of the cases that have involved them. Now, they hijacked Kyler Rittenhouse, but that didn't involve them. But in Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Amber Geiger, the cop down there in Houston that broke into the guy's house and killed him, thought it was her own house, and in Derek Chauvin. All the last big high profile cases that involve Sunmen and authority, they've won. And they complain even more. They won the election. The guy they wanted to win. The guy they love so much, Sleepy Joe, he won. They just been catching W's. And still, they will tell you that this woman has some kind of privilege because the color of her skin. What privilege does this woman have? Does this sound like someone who possesses privilege?
I have been worrying about getting carjacked for so long because all we've heard about in this city is carjackings left and right.
A mother terrified as armed carjackers take her purse and then her car. This all unfolding in broad daylight in Bridgeport. That woman is now in fear for her life and the lives of her children.
She spoke exclusively today with our Nate Rogers.
A Bridgeport woman is grateful to be alive, but right now she's terrified to leave her home. Her biggest fear, the teenagers that carjacked her, she believes they'll be back up to mischief in due time.
So, what part of privilege is being afraid to leave your house? What part of privilege is being attacked in broad daylight, relieved of your purse? And we know how women love their purse. They have everything in their purse. Even guys have started wearing purses lately, but I'm still a pocket guy. And, I don't have all that stuff. I don't need all that stuff that women have. All I need is my blade, my blade in my back pocket, my debit card, my ID. Oh yeah, I'm a son man. I think they said we don't have IDs, so yeah. I'm one of the rare ones of us who has an ID. And my keys. I'm good, man. Maybe some chapstick or something. But I'm good. But women, oh my God, they got everything in there. Oh my God. My wife asked me to find, I don't look in women's purses. So I just could bring her a purse. Can you go get this out of my purse? No, I could bring you a purse. I don't look through women's purse. I never did. I never did when I was younger. I never looked through my mom's purse. So much stuff in there. Lady stuff. So it's just women do not like giving up their person. This woman, she held on as long as she could, but the Sun team meant business. She's relieved of her purse, relieved of her car, in broad daylight. It's all caught on camera, and no one's been arrested. This is the strangest privilege. And if she makes one error in the way she describes the event, uses one coded, because they're listening for coded terminology, supremacist talking points. So she can't even really, just unpack this. She got to think about, so she's on trial. This is the strangest privilege I've ever seen in my life.
A Bridgeport woman is grateful to be alive, but right now she's terrified to leave her home. Her biggest fear, the teenagers that carjacked her, she believes they'll be back up to mischief in due time.
I'm afraid to leave my house because I think that these kids that did this to me are probably walking the streets right now.
She doesn't want her face shown, but part of her healing is recounting this horrific experience.
6 male blacks carjacked her at gunpoint, took her white Audi Q7.
Brazen in broad daylight, all captured on surveillance cameras. An SUV drives up. 3 men exit running toward the woman and her vehicle. You can hear her frantically screaming for help. Trying to get away, she falls to the ground. Her purse and SUV stolen. The perpetrators immediately take off.
I'm a aware person. I'm always checking my surroundings.
The crime occurring in less than 25 seconds this past Monday outside the victim's home along West 37th Street. Ironically, there's a church and school right across the street.
That's why it's so sickening, because I don't want to have to leave. But I don't want to raise my children being afraid.
Chicago police say there have been 1,710 carjackings this year compared to 1,303 the same time last year.
Man, that is a lot of carjackings, man. Goodness gracious. God, that's a lot of carjackings. Jeez Christ. And you guys know I've been covering this for quite some time. 2019, 2018, it would be like 800, 900. And I used to remark it like, God, that's a lot of carjackings. Now it's doubled since before the summer of Floyd. God, that's a lot of carjackings. How many carjackings do they have in your town? Gliders only. This is a glider. This is a glider question. I'm looking for gliders who live in predominantly glacial towns. How many carjackings do you have? Now I know they have 3 million people here, but still, like, do you have a proportional amount of carjackings? Like, Jesus Christ.
Local police say there have been 1,710 carjackings this year compared to 1,303 the same time last year. More than 1,300 people have been arrested for carjacking-related offenses. As the holiday approaches, even with a gorgeous Christmas tree, the mother of two says she's now living in fear in the same community where she was born and raised.
There's too many criminals that are just allowed to do this to innocent people and, get away with it.
And this woman has some kind of privilege. And let me tell you something. They could have done anything to this woman and it would have been the same. Just use your imagination. They could have done anything to this woman. It would have been the same outcome. No one would be in custody. It would be one of 13,000 or 17,000 of that crime that happened that year in this place. And it would just go into the files and get lost. The DA down there, if it happened to come across her desk, she'd throw it out, toss it. I mean, what kind of privilege is this?
There's too many criminals that are just allowed to do this to innocent people and, get away with it. No consequence, nothing at all.
Now, Chicago police tell us 3 suspects are in custody, 2 17-year-olds and 1 14-year-old. Their charges include felony vehicular hijacking and felony robbery. The mother was able to get her car back, but she tells me to add insult to injury, she had to pay $150 to retrieve her car from the city pound. And
Okay. So she had to pay $150 to get her car back because she's privileged. But what do you think is going to happen to the victims here? The 17-year-olds and the 14-year-olds. What happens to their case? Now, we've talked about this a lot here on the channel because a lot of you guys, rightfully so, you don't know anything about the criminal justice system. And you're not liberal, so you don't not know about anything and then be the loudest voice in the room about it. So most of you guys are conservative, so when you don't know something, you're usually pretty quiet about the thing you don't know. Or you inquire about it. Whereas liberals, they don't know something and they get on the highest mountaintop and shout. So these cases, as they go through the system, the 14-year-old, okay, nothing's going to happen with that. So let's scratch that. The 2 17-year-olds. What do you think happens with these cases? Does it even make it to a status hearing where the guy says, how do you plead? The judge says, how do you plead? And the guy says, not guilty. Will a trial be set? Will these guys be detained until the trial? Are these guys still in jail now? Are they home? These 17-year-olds, I would bet dollars to donuts that they're at home right now. They've probably been given an ankle monitor, but I would bet dollars to donuts they're home. So yeah, the 14-year-old, nothing's gonna happen to him. The 17-year-olds, nothing's gonna happen to them, but they're not even gonna get a scare. It's not even gonna be like the judge gonna say, "All right, I'm ready to hand down my sentence now. You guys have been terrible people in the community, terrorizing, blah, 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 blah. And I sentence you to 3 years probation." Thank you, Your Honor. Like, they ain't even gonna do that. This stuff ain't even gonna see a judge. Stuff getting tossed in the garbage can. Wow.
A follow-up to an exclusive story we brought you earlier about would-be juvenile carjackers caught on camera. We now bring details about their arrests hours later.
Both heavily armed teens at 17 and 14 years old were wanted for crimes in 3 parishes, including the escape from a juvenile detention center by the 14-year-old.
The 14-year-old escaped from a juvenile detention center. And this is just something, they're just misguided teen. If you gave these kids money or some old head jailbird gang member from back in the day that's running some program, talk to them for 30 minutes, they're going to turn around their life and just go to school and be straight A students, right? and go to Johns Hopkins Medical School, right? Or go to get a mass comm degree from Northwestern, right? They're going to go to Harvard Law School, right? Come on, man. These kids are bad to the bone. And I'm not saying give up on them because it doesn't matter what I say. They're going to keep doing this stuff and keep doing this stuff. So it doesn't matter what I say. What you mean, give up on them? Dude, it don't matter. They ain't going to stop. So what does it matter if I give up on them or not? Really, what does it matter? If I, who had nothing to do with them in their life, if I give up on them, what does it matter?
Both heavily armed teens at 17 and 14 years old were wanted for crimes in 3 parishes, including the escape from a juvenile detention center by the 14-year-old. Investigative reporter Mike Pearlstein has the story.
This brazen attempt at carjacking a Tesla owner Tuesday morning was caught by the car's dash cam video.
When they stepped out of the car, I put my hands up, said no, flipped it into reverse pretty quickly.
The attackers fired one shot, but the victim escaped unharmed. The 14 and 17-year-old attackers, however, were caught later that day. About 9 hours after the would-be carjacking, St. Bernard Parish Sheriff's deputies caught up to the juveniles here in this Walmart parking lot in Chalmette. Both were fully armed with semi-automatic pistols.
And at that point is when we discovered both subjects were armed with semi-automatic weapons that turned out to be stolen from another jurisdiction.
Not only were the juveniles carrying stolen guns, they were wanted in Jefferson and Orleans parishes in other crimes. And the 14-year-old had been on the run since escaping from the Bridge City Juvenile Detention Center more than 3 weeks ago.
Criminals cross parish lines all the time, and we all see an uptick in juvenile crime.
It's not supposed to happen in front of your house.
This Mid-City resident said the mid-morning gunfire on his street left him shaken. Then, later that night, his security camera caught this.
4 kids came through and rifled the car at 8 o'clock at night.
St. Bernard Sheriff Jimmy Pullman said those young car burglars could easily become the next carjackers.
Once they pull on a door handle and hit what I call a jackpot, where they have weapons in the car, but then they become armed criminals.
2 juveniles caught, several more picking up where they left off. Mike Pearlstein, Eyewitness News.
So that 14-year-old was one of 3 juveniles who escaped from Bridge City, the lockup on November 21st. The other 2 escapees, ages 16 and 18, have already been captured.